Your father, such a great athlete, an accomplished amateur athlete, and now he's getting into the world of pro wrestling, and he's with your mother, who's a wrestler, of course. And it makes me curious, Ted. You as a kid, it's obviously you're probably going to the shows, you're hearing about wrestling all the time and stuff. How well did you understand what your father and mother were doing for a living?
Well, again, when my mother married Mike DiBiase, that was it. She wasn't wrestling anymore, and she became a stay at home mother.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, how well did you know what Mike was doing for a living?
Oh gosh, I mean, when I first met him, I mean, I knew from the beginning, there were uh, because of the trying to think now. I knew that my mother had because I can remember her telling me at a wrestling show where I was there, and and she didn't, it wasn't like I wasn't at wrestling shows all the time, because there was always somebody to take care of me, look after me. Uh, anyway, I remember her telling me, no matter what you see, you stay in your seat. Don't you dare come to this ring. Well, I start watching this match, and that's my mom that somebody's beating her up. And I go running down to the ring, and somebody snatched me and got me back. But I was there long enough for her to see me. Oh my gosh! Oh man, did she light into me when she says, "What did I tell you? I told you don't get out of your seat. You stay right where you are, and then you come running up there." And I said, "Mom, you were getting beat up." Anyway, I finally figured it out.
Mike, old school guy, Italian upbringing, and certainly an old school wrestling mindset. Was he one to openly talk about the business at home, like around the dinner table? Was that something that would come up a lot?
No,
You never
no,
heard about it.
no, because it was like that. We're talking about the days of serious kayfabe,
Okay.
and we all we were ever told was, no matter who you see here, you didn't see anybody.
Mm.
We would have people over to the house, and again, but they would, it was kind of like if they had a party at our house, they waited till it got dark. and and they invite the, and so it was just the way it was then. Just to try to always protect the business, and that's just the way it was.
Now, your dad was a heel, though.
Yeah,
At least according to my research, he was largely a heel throughout his career. So, you as a kid, I'm sure you're watching him on TV. It's kind of like you sort of know the business, but here's your dad being a heel on TV and this antagonist. Like, was it weird for you to kind of come to terms with the idea that this loving father of yours was out there, beating people up and being this antagonist?
no, no. It's just kind of like, it's kind of like, I don't care who you are, but he's my dad. you know, uh, yeah, I never let that bother me. And what was funny is like, you never asked any questions. Okay.
Hmm.
And so I think that my dad, he looked at it as like, the longer he's around it and the more he sees, he'll figure it out on his own. And I won't even have to tell him. And that's exactly what happened. It's like I figured it out on my own that's that it was indeed uh, prearranged. So
So probably a big part of that is you mentioned that your parents would have parties and bring people over after dark. So I'm sure it's like, your dad's a heel. I'm sure that some of the guys coming over are baby faces.
oh
So
yeah.
I'm sure you're sitting there like, wait a minute, didn't dad
Well, in
just fight this
fact,
guy?
one of the longest pro wrestling matches in history was my dad and Funk Senior, a 3 hour and 20 minute Texas death match, and that was the summer of '66. And I mean, the Funk family have been. I mean, if I were to have, if I could have been an adopted Funk. I mean, um, my dad and Funk Senior. I mean, every time even if we were going like from Nebraska, cross country and went out to Arizona. Well, we stopped at that. Every time we went that way, we would actually go out of our way to go through Amarillo and stop and see the Funks. And we stayed at the ranch where Dory Funk Senior had a ranch, and of course, that's easy because you're not hiding from anybody then because there's you know I do remember one time when I don't know, somebody came over unexpected, and my and my dad and senior, like just started getting like cussing each other and whatever. and, said, and he's going, get out of my house. And I mean, they're just trying to protect the business because these people showed up, unexpectedly, and then they leave, and then and we it was what was funny is that I my younger brother John was still basically a toddler, so we left. We left him there. We got halfway down the road going out the road going from the ranch out to the highway. Had to turn around and go back, and the mother had to go in there and says, "Give me my son."
That's great, man. So it's a little strange for you. I'm sure that's kind of how you learn, though. It's like he's actually really good friends with Dory Funk Senior, but
Oh
on
yeah.
TV they hate each other.
And
Um,
and again, what they would say to us, is say, listen, you know, it's kind of like, like business is business. And he says, we are good friends, but once we step into that ring, then it's all business. And that's how we understood it. It's kind of like, they're friends. They're friends as long as they're not in the ring. So.
Now, it makes me curious, Ted. What other wrestlers do you recall? I know I'm asking you to reach way, way back, 45 or 55 plus years, but like, what other wrestlers from the territory days when your dad was out working do you recall coming over to the house? Any like big names stand out for you?
Oh my gosh. Big names of that era. I mean, there was a guy named Bob Geigel. Bob Geigel eventually was the promoter of the Kansas City territory.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, a very young Harley Race.
Wow.
As a matter of fact, it was Harley Race who uh,
Tried to
would
resuscitate your father.
tried to resuscitate my dad, and he came over and that night when they came to tell us, yeah, my mother was just hysterical. I remember that, and we didn't even stay at our apartment. We went over and stayed with this other family, and the guy's his wrestling name was Jack Kane. He had been like my dad's manager one time, but his wife and my mother got to be good friends, and so we stayed at their house for a few days, and it was just. Um, what's really funny is the things I remember is like there was a grocery store real close, and so they sent me to the grocery store to get milk or something. And the wrestling card in the window, okay,
Mm-hmm.
the wrestling card in the window says July 3rd, Amarillo Sports Arena, Iron Mike DiBiase versus Dory Funk Senior.
Ah,
I saw that and just fell out.
yeah.
You know, yeah, it was tough.